Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gokula Nanda, Radha Gokula Nanda, Radha Gokula Nanda Shri Radhe. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Shri Radha Gokulananda ki, Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shala Jagat Guru Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Pramanande. Haribol. It's not there. It should be there. Is it there? Otherwise, you can also ask in the. Yeah. Hare Krishna. So, thank you all so much for joining this evening 6 p.m. Bhagavad Gita class. As I've mentioned, it will approximately last until 7, and then after that we'll be having the Gaur Arati. For many of you, the announcement this morning was that Bhakta Brian would be giving this class, but sometimes Krishna puts us in situations where we're forced to embrace the unexpected. So he's unable to make it for this evening's class, and he's asked me generously and kindly to cover this class. So I'm covering this class. I feel very grateful, very privileged. I feel that, with every step, hopefully my heart can be more and more purified, and that I can become more and more sincere in what I share, genuine in my thoughts, So thank you so much for this opportunity. Before we start the class, we're just going to recite a short invocation, and then after that, we'll be reading from Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita commentary, the transliteration, the translation. So please do stick around. Om Ajnanatimandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashachade Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhishcha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nantakoti Vaishnavindaki. Hare Krishna. So, we're reading from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, entitled Observing the Armies, text 42. Yes, text 42. So what we'll do is we'll read the translation. Usually it's ideal that people have a Bhagavad Gita in their hands that they can read from, but unfortunately we cannot facilitate that. So if you have a phone, then you can unfortunately also use your phone. Thank you. So that's text 1, verse 42. So I'll just read the Sanskrit, and then we can slowly progress into the translation. Doshe ete kula jnanam vana sankara karake utsadyanti jaiti dharma kula dharmascha shashvata. Doshe ete kula jnanam varna sankara karakaye utsadyante jati dharma kula dharmascha shashvata. Do you want to give it a go? Yeah. See, that's fine. Doshe etahe kula jnanam varna sankara karakaye utsadyante jati dharma kula dharmascha shashvata. So we'll just read the transliteration. Doshe, by such faults, ete, all these, kula jnanam, of the destroyers of the family, varna sankara, of unwanted children, karakaye, which are causes, utsandyati, are devastated, jati dharma, community projects, kula dharma, family traditions, cha, also, shashvata, eternal, Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki. By the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. Purport. Community projects for the just repeat after me. By the evil deeds of those who destroy, the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. So purport. Community projects for the four orders of human society combined with family welfare activities as they are set forth by the institution of Sanatana Dharma and Varnashram Dharma are designed to enable the human beings to attain his ultimate salvation. Therefore, the breaking of the Sanatana Dharma tradition by irresponsible leaders of society brings about chaos in that society, and consequently people forget the aim of life, Vishnu. Such leaders are called blind, and persons who follow such leaders are sure to be led into chaos. So once again, the translation. By the evil deeds of those who destroy the family traditions and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namani Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Shivram Swami Iti Namani. Hare Krishna. So thank you all so much for joining, for being here. There is nothing more glorious than phone. There is nothing more. So if you could just all either mute your phone or just turn off your phone, and let's just try and spend 1 hour together discussing Krishna Katha. Or you can put it on vibration, so if you get an urgent call, then you can take it outside the temple room. There is nothing more glorious than coming together in a sangha and speaking about Krishna. Our mind is constantly evolving and always absorbed in the materialistic way of living, being, and thinking. And as a result of it, very seldom do we really hear about Krishna. Actually, it's quite really amazing when you hear about Krishna, then your thought revolves around Krishna. And that thought actually transforms into inspiration. And that inspiration transforms into an action. And that action transforms into a habit. And that habit transforms into your character, into becoming a Vaishnava, a devotee of the Lord. And when your character transforms, then so your destiny. So it's really actually amazing, the process of Shravanam, hearing and discussion. And so hopefully we'll try and do that with the short time that we have. And if you have any question, we'll try and make some time for that later on. So when we actually read the Bhagavad Gita chapter 1, we see that Arjuna is going through a lot of dilemma. He's going through a lot of perplexity. He knows what his duty is, and yet he's in doubt. He's having this crisis. And often, every single one of us, I'm sure that we can relate, that we come to a point in our existence, in our life, where we also experience crisis, where we also experience difficulties, we also experience challenges. And often the solution, the easiest thing that may seem that we can do is just try and adjust external situations, try and make external adjustments, external situation, change things around. But actually, one of my sort of reflection when we're going through challenges is that maybe it's not so much to do with what changes that requires outside of us as much as it's to do with the changes that requires inside of us. Haven't we often come across times in our life where we are repeatedly coming across the same challenges again and again and again, no matter what solutions we may form, what schemes, what plans we may have, is always the same challenge again and again and again. Because in every situation, in every circumstance, in every issue that we're having, Krishna is actually forcing us to make a renovation, not externally, but to our consciousness. He is trying to tell us that we need to edify what is going on in our heart, what is going on in our consciousness, what is going on in our mind. And here we can see that Arjun is trying to take the same path, the same route. He thinks that if I make external adjustments, then perhaps maybe there's an alternative way of coming out of this other than having to fight. But the intelligent thing about Arjun, and something that we can all follow, just as Parikshit Maharaj taught us, is that inquisitiveness. Before we make any decision in life, we must also take the time to inquire, to ask. And Srila Prabhupada has painstakingly established this process of going through the Guru, going through the devotees, and going through the Shastra. What are these three things have to say about the decisions that we are to make in our life? Just like Arjun did the same thing. So Arjun says in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 1 verse 30, I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself and my mind is reeling. I see only causes of misfortune, O Krishna, killer of the Kesha demon. So every single one of us, as difficult as life may be, we all have two things, which is Sanatan Dharma and Varnashram Dharma. What are the difference? Sanatan Dharma are activities that are in connection with the pure spirit soul that we are. And Varnashram Dharma are activities that are in connection with our conditioned self. And so it's not that we let go of one and just entirely focus on the other. Sometimes in life we come across people, and even myself, I was like this, that we put a lot more emphasis into one thing more than the other. So we go from one extreme to the other. But what this does is it creates an unbalanced lifestyle, an unbalanced consciousness, an unbalanced way of living and being. And then what happens is that then we're not really able to focus on Krishna. We're not really able to engage ourselves in Krishna's service. Because if you just purely focus on spirituality, but you don't take care of your material needs, then you will always be disturbed in the mind. You won't really entirely be able to focus on Krishna. But then on the other hand, if you're absorbed so much in your material needs, but that you neglect your spiritual self, then what it is that, again, there'll always be frustration, because you'll always have expectation, which will lead to disappointment. So both simultaneously, hand in hand, are really, really important. But before I really kind of go into the class, I think one thing that for us all to remember is that when we read the Bhagavad Gita, sometimes we may think, why did in chapter 1 did Arjun refuse to fight? Even though Arjun was side by side with Krishna, even though he knew what it is that he needed to do, yet he was in doubt. He was having a moment of meltdown. Why would that be the case? Arjun wasn't having so much of a moment of a meltdown, but what he was doing, and something we can all learn to apply in our life, is that he was being reflective. He was being inquisitive. He was actually exploring all different options before he decided to do what he needed to do. And so in life, what happens often is that we do things and we think is the right thing, but often it turns out to be the wrong thing. Because we haven't taken the time, the opportunity, that moment of reflectiveness, that moment of inquisitiveness, that moment of exploring, am I making the right decision? And what is that right decision based on? Because often what may seem to be the right decision may not be the right decision. So we need to explore the dynamic of all our options before we engage ourselves in any activity. So it's really, really important. And that's why through that's what qualified Arjun to receive all these wisdoms from Krishna, because he was being reflective. And so we must also learn to be reflective. So what I want to do in this class is I want to talk about how devotional service is actually the ultimate goal. Devotional service is even more important than just living a life where we're trying to discover what our Varna and our ashram is. Because when we execute devotional service, it's like watering the root, we feel nourished. And then ultimately what happens is whatever activities that we engage ourselves in will always find a sense of satisfaction, because that satisfaction isn't coming through so much of, I found what is the right thing for me to do. That comes over time. That comes as we go along life. But more important than that is actually engaging all of our activities, all of our resources, our energy, and everything that we're doing in the service of Krishna. Because that's what brings genuine nourishment. That's what brings genuine happiness. When the Lord is pleased, then so the jiva, because we're simply a part and parcel of Him. So I always say that we're all searching for the right things, but in the wrong places, and often from the wrong sources. So what happens is that in the Bhagavad Gita, so tomorrow we'll be reading from chapter 1, verse 43. And in that particular verse, in the purport, so let me just pull it out and read it for you guys. In the translation, it says that, O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell. But the interesting thing about this particular verse is the purport that Srila Prabhupada actually says that one cannot reach the real point of factual knowledge without being helped by the right person who is already established in that knowledge. So actually real knowledge comes through going through the right authority, asking from the right people. And often our information, we may have really intelligent questions, we may even be seekers, we may even be looking for the right things, but in the wrong people and in the wrong places and from the wrong sources. And that is our dilemma. That is the real issue, that we're searching for the right thing, but from the wrong sources. So I want to start off with one incredible pastime. And this pastime is that once a Brahmana went to Lord Shiva. And this Brahmana, when he went to Lord Shiva, he inquired from Lord Shiva, what is the wealthiest thing that I can attain? And Lord Shiva said that the wealthiest thing that you can attain, go to Sanatana Goswami. He will give you. And when this Brahmana went to Sanatana Goswami and he asked Sanatana Goswami that I want the wealthiest thing in the world, and Lord Shiva told me to come to you, what he had found beside Sanatana Goswami amongst the rubbish is what is called the Chintamani stone, a gold stone that turns everything else into gold. And he was incredibly happy, incredibly pleased to have this, to have acquired this, and he took it with him. But then it daunted on him. He started to reflect and think, and it didn't add up. It didn't make sense. I am carrying the wealthiest thing in the world, but why was it next to the rubbish? And then he had realized, okay, there must be more to it. And then when he went to Sanatana Goswami actually mentioned to him that the wealthiest thing in the world is not what you are carrying, but it's actually the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, in Chaitanya Mangal, it's actually a really amazing, Lord Chaitanya, in Chaitanya Mangal, he said that if any sinful people get away being in distant countries by my sword. So, in different pastimes, Krishna in different incarnation is carrying different weapons. But in Lord Chaitanya's pastime, you see that Lord Chaitanya isn't actually carrying any physical weapon, but he's actually carrying the holy name. So in Chaitanya Mangal, Lord Chaitanya, what he says here is that if any sinful people get away by being in distant countries where my personal preaching will not reach, I will send my devotee commander-in-chief to deliver them. So who is that commander-in-chief? It's none other than His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada, at the age of 69, he went on the Jaladuta, and he celebrated his 70th birthday on that ship, and he was on a mission. And that mission was to go to the West and to spread the holy name. So the point is that Varnashram alone cannot really help us to make advancement in spiritual life. In fact, if we look at it in today's world, there are so many civilized countries, so many advanced technology, so many different renovation of things that are happening in the world. But what it is that our greediness is increasing. Our dissatisfaction is increasing. Our depression is increasing. Everything is increasing, but not our happiness. Because Varnashram alone is not enough to make us advance in spiritual life. Varnashram alone is not there, is not able to help us to advance in our quality of life, in the way we live, in our happiness. It may be able to help, but the dilemma with Varnashram system is that it can also be exploited. It can be exploited. People may use it and exploit it, and they may use it for the wrong reason. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada actually, other than Varnashram system, he had established deity worship. He had established a process in which from morning to night, wherever we are, whatever we're doing, we can dedicate our Varna, our ashram, the way we live, the way we are, our activities, everything that we do to their lordships. So if you're a cook, then you cook for their lordships. If you're a business person, then you do business for their lordships. Whatever it is that you do it for their lordships. Because then what happens is that our activities are actually centered around Krishna. And the temptation, because that's what it is. Every single one of us, we think we're independent. We think that we make our own decision. But in the Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada, what he writes is every single one of us, we're just simply a puppet in this world. Strings attached to us. And we may think we're making our own choices, but actually the three modes of material nature are influencing our choices. And so if we take shelter of Krishna, then we can do Krishna conscious activities. But if we take shelter of Maya, then we're engaged in sinful activities. The choice is there, but the influence can go either way. So therefore, when we engage our activities, when we engage whatever it is that we do to their lordships, and when they're happy, when they're pleased, so can we also become happy. So can we then all be pleased. As the saying says, we want the kingdom of God, but we want it without God. We want to be happy in this world, but we want to be happy without Krishna. How is that possible? We're simply his parts and parcel. We are his flicker in this material world. So therefore, it's really important. Srila Prabhupada has given us the greatest blessings. He's given us the greatest gift. And it's also a question of how do we utilize it? How do we use it? What are we doing with it? And in fact, it's really interesting that once when Ramananda Rai and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were in a discussion, and they were trying to establish what is the highest goal, what is the highest thing in this world. And when Ramananda Rai said, yeah, it's Varnashram system which can help us to understand Krishna, to build our relationship with Krishna, to connect with Krishna, he said, no, there's something even more higher than that. And what is the highest thing? It's not Varnashram system. It is actually devotional service to the Lord. Devotional service to the Lord is the most supreme. It is the most beautiful. Devotional service to the Supreme Lord is what helps us to understand who we are. In the Shikshastakam, it says, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. What it is that actually our heart has so many dust. It has so many dirts, unable to let us see who we really and truly are, a spiritual entity. And so therefore we relate ourselves to this material body and we see the world around us in a material sense, our relationship in a material sense. And as a result of it, we become attached to so many temptations. We become attached to so many things, unnecessary, waste of time, that makes us suffer more and more and more. That is the root cause of our suffering, is the attachment that we have to the wrong things, because we don't know who we are. And because we don't know who we are, we're very easily influenced. We always fall trapped to the wrong things in life. And we think that is what is happiness is. We think that is what being joyful is. But in fact, as I said, happiness is just the absence of suffering. Whatever activities that we're engaged in, it may bring some temporary happiness, but that happiness simply just means that we're not suffering in that period of time until suffering is to come. And that I guarantee, because Krishna guarantees. He says in the Bhagavad Gita that happiness and distress is like the season of winter and summer. So Lord Chaitanya actually elaborates even more than that. What Lord Chaitanya says is that I am not a Brahmana, a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, or a Sudra. I am not a Brahmachari, a Grihastha, a Vrana, Prastha, or Sannyasi. What am I? I am the eternal servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. So when our meditation becomes that, how can I serve? And what do I mean by serve? How can I serve the devotees? How can I serve Srila Prabhupada? How can I serve his mission? How can I serve humanity, but in a way that Srila Prabhupada has given us the process that what happens is that slowly we shift from exploiting people and resources to utilizing resources to help people. So that is the formula. Without this formula, then we will always have the tendency to exploit more and more and more. So a question that we can regularly meditate on a regular basis is that how can we give pleasure to Krishna and live according to his plan and will instead of ours? Because Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually, we always sing this during the Prasadam prayer. He says that the material body is a place of ignorance and the senses are the network path of death. So therefore, Shishi Radha Gokulananda ki, Shishi Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shishi Gaurnitai ki. So therefore, if we simply just focus on how we can meet our own need, how we can just help ourselves in this world, then we'll never really and truly be satisfied. We'll never be content. We'll never be happy. Srila Prabhupada said that in this world there is enough for everyone's need, but there's not enough for everyone's greed. So devotional service is the way. The sadhana bhakti that Srila Prabhupada has given us is the way. Raghunath Das Goswami once, he heard that Lord Chaitanya was set to travel. And so he decided to leave his family life. He decided that, he would join with Lord Chaitanya, travel with him, serve with him, and in that way attain perfection. But then when he offered himself to Lord Chaitanya, what did Lord Chaitanya say to him? Go back to your family life, serve, be there for your family because they need you. But actually what it is that, so whatever varnas that we are in, whatever ashram that we're in, whether it's brahmachari, grahastha, vanaprastha, sannyas, whatever it is, it's not so much the cloth that one wears. Like for example, if we look at the Bhagavatam, Canto 1, and we see that, not Canto 1, when we see that, Kali, when Kali was actually dressed as, or when the Sudra was dressed as a king, I believe, was it? Yes. When Kali was dressed as a king and then he was beating the bull and the cow. So then what does Srila Prabhupada say in that purport? Srila Prabhupada says in that purport that in this day and age, you'll find so many Sudras that are dressed in clothes of administrators, kings, and all so and so and so, but they're actually engaged in sinful activities. They're engaged in wrong activities. So you see, it's not so much about the cloth that we wear, not the sannyasi cloth, nor the vanaprastha cloth, nor the brahmachari cloth, the saffron cloth, but it's our consciousness. It's our lifestyle, our attitude, the way we live, the way we hold ourselves, the way we move forward with grace, with love, with understanding, with compassion. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya instructed Raghunath Das Goswami, you go, you return, you perform your duty, but don't be attached. Always remember, always think of Krishna. And that's what really the purpose is. The purpose is that to live in this world, to perform our duties, to perform our responsibilities, but without that attachment and without the sense to enjoy things for ourselves. And how do we develop this consciousness? We develop this consciousness when we see that the resources around us, the people around us, everything around us belongs to Krishna, which it says in Sri Ishopanishad. And so Krishna has given us our quota, and we utilize that quota for the sake of self-realization. Some of us may have wealth. Some of us, we may just have natural fame. Some of us may have whatever it is, whatever qualities that we may have. How can I use it in Krishna's service? How can I use it in order to spread the message that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us, which everyone is looking for? Just because someone externally seems happy and pleasant, it doesn't necessarily mean that is the case. Because in fact, we're all suffering. To some degree or another, we're all suffering. So, and it's really important. If Krishna isn't the center of what we do, if Krishna is not at the center of our activity, then our pride is. And so where can we start from? We can start from every single one of us want to be successful, correct? But in order to understand what success is, we must also understand what failure is. And what is the greatest failure? The greatest failure is the fact that Lord Chaitanya personally came to this world to give us the holy name, but we're so unfortunate we don't actually realize how valuable it is, and so therefore we're not utilizing it. We're chasing for so many things, but we're neglecting the very gem, the very heart of this movement, of what Srila Prabhupada has given us, what Lord Chaitanya has given us, which is the holy name. What is more unfortunate than that? So that's what failure is. And when we realize what failure is, then we'll realize what real genuine success is. And what is that genuine success? Is to take this process serious, to practice it seriously, and to share it with others seriously. So therefore, my mentor always said that global revolution begins with personal resolution. What are we personally doing to establish our relationship with Krishna? What are we doing not to be distracted by external processes, external things that we think may actually help and contribute to our progress? But what sort of depth are we developing in our spiritual life? How are we utilizing our time wisely? Parikshit Maharaj, when he found out he had 7 days to live, one of his first questions is that what is the duty of one who is to die in 7 days, but what is the duty of anyone that is to die? And we're all in that boat. We all, like Bhaktivedanta Swami says, we all have a very special appointment with death. And so therefore, up until that time, when that time comes, what are we doing to utilize our time effectively? It doesn't matter what Varna, what ashram that we're in. It doesn't matter what our Varna is. Srila Prabhupada said actually practically everyone is a Sudra in this day and age. So it doesn't really matter where we're situated. Sometimes we think that, oh, if I was a brahmachari, life would be more easier. Or if I was a grihasta, things, if I was a grihasta, then I'd be able to focus more, whatever. So many people come with so many different external excuses. But our excuses does not facilitate for our lack of understanding of how precious of what we have is and our advancement. That is something that we can personally take serious and take it with both of our hands and not let it slip by. It doesn't matter external excuses. Krishna says that he is the ability in man. If that sincerity is there and we're genuine about our spiritual life and where we want to go, then Krishna will empower us to continue engaging in devotional service. Krishna will give us opportunity. Sometimes grihastas may say that, I wish I had more time to serve sannyasis or to do this, to do that. But Krishna will empower. Krishna will create the right opportunities, the right facilities. Someone may say, I just don't have the money to travel. Krishna will provide. But the question is, how genuine are we? How sincere are we? How focused are we? Krishna reciprocates with that. So, yeah, and it all actually comes from asking intelligent questions. So therefore, global revolution starts with personal resolution. And wisdom actually, as Parikshit Maharaj demonstrated to us in those 7 days where he was just completely fixed on hearing from Shukadev Goswami, wisdom starts from hearing from the right sources. Because when we hear from the right sources, as I have mentioned, it just transforms our thoughts, our consciousness, which in result transforms everything else, our habit, our character, our activities, our destiny. The way we even, I'm sure by, 5 years ago, a few months ago, the kind of goals that you had in life, the kind of focus that you had in life, the kind of things that you were aspiring for and striving for in life is not the same as what it is today. So you see, it's quite really fascinating and interesting how every day, anyway, our life is evolving, our vision is evolving, where we're going is evolving. But don't you want to be a conscious creator of that? Don't you want to be more conscious, more reflective, more introspective of where the trajectory of your life is headed to, and not just flow with things, as they say? Because if we just simply flow with things, then there's a lot of negative influences out there in the world. So it all starts from hearing. And then when we hear, then we slowly start to realize that we're a spiritual being. And we start to relate to our dilemmas in life, our relationships, our challenges, and everything we go through from a spiritual perspective. And so that process, that practice really starts from sadhana bhakti. That's why Srila Prabhupada was so very heavy. He was very heavy. He put a lot of emphasis, a lot of stress into having what is called a morning program. A morning program in which either you can do it. Sometimes you may not be able to have the facilities to travel, to drive, to always make it to the temple, but it doesn't matter. Wherever Krishna is being glorified, wherever Krishna is being spoken of, wherever there's the glorification of the Lord, is a temple there. It's a tirtha there. So therefore, even if you cannot, again, it really comes down to our desire, our will, thinking, feeling, and willing. So if that desire is there, then we can make our very home into a temple. Where there's Srimad Bhagavatam there, Bhagavad Gita there, glorification of the Lord there, bhajans being sung there. Anywhere is a temple. And the most important temple that we need to transform is the temple of our heart, the temple of our consciousness. So therefore, Prabhupada put a lot of emphasis into the morning program, into our appreciation, our gratitude of the spiritual teacher for all that he's given us, for all that he's provided for us. Then glorification of Tulsi Maharani, then glorification of Lord Nrsimhadev for our protection in this material world that we're living in with so much temptations. So he's given us all these processes, and no matter where we are, what we're doing, we can actually apply this in our life. That is the most amazing thing. I've never experienced and seen something that is so easily accessible, and it's applicable to every one of us, and it's attainable. Actually, if you listen to Prabhupada disciples, they'd say back in the days they only had one cassette. And they all somehow or another had to get to that and listen from that. But nowadays we have technology, we have phone, we have laptops, we have computers, we have so many things in which we can access all of Srila Prabhupada's teaching. But the question is, what are we doing about it? And if we're not doing enough, then maybe it's a time that we seriously started thinking about our life and where it's headed to, because we're wasting time. And then when we can do this, when we can really perfect our sadhana, even perfect, but try and aspire to make it better, then the other thing that we need to also think about and reflect is on our sadhya. Life is like a roller coaster. There's so many difficulties and challenges, so many distractions, so many things that will come on the path. And I haven't personally seen myself, but you can actually go and ask any of the devotees that have been around here for 20, 30 years, that so many people have joined this movement. So many people have taken on the process of Krishna consciousness. So many people have taken first initiation, second initiation. They've memorized so many shlokas, but where are they today? Where are they today? So without a clear sadhya, without a clear focus of where the goal is, what it is that we're aspiring for, then all of our material qualities, our material skills and abilities can only take us so far. Maya will lure us with all the prestige, the fame, the popularity, the attention that we receive as a result of devotional life. Because you'll get that also in devotional life. People will glorify you and praise you for how you can talk, what you can say, what you can do, what you can memorize. But that is, when we get distracted by that, then we lose focus of the sight of what Srila Prabhupada has given us. What Srila Prabhupada has requested us, our focus to be on. So it's really important that we have a clear sadhya, a clear motivation and inspiration for why we're doing what we're doing, so that therefore we don't get deviated by temporary pleasure for the real goal of life. And when we can do this, then ignorance can become knowledge. Lust can become into love. Selfishness can become into selflessness, and envy can become into appreciation. And we don't have to wait for that. We don't have to wait for that time. We don't have to wait for the perfect circumstance, the perfect situation, for me to find what my varna is, what my ashram is, where I need to be situated in. That will naturally fall into places. But we must just work hard, work diligently, work focused, and we must just continue moving forward. And in that way, we can avoid distractions. We can avoid deviations. And we must sincerely take shelters of the devotees that we have been so fortunately blessed with in our lives. So with that being said, thank you so much for your time. It's a very passionate verse actually it's a verse I'm very passionate about, because I actually also think about my own life, like how am I spending my time? And actually I was telling one friend that you could be in this movement for 20, 30, 40, 50 years trying to find what your varna is, what your ashram is, what service you'd be perfect for, what you'd be doing and stuff like that. But, in those 30 years, you can completely neglect the transformation of the heart. Then it's like everything that you've kind of accumulated, yes, you'll get some sukriti for it, some advancement is there, but not the entire fruit, not the entire beauty of Krishna consciousness. So let's all, including myself, let's become a little bit more introspective of what's going on inside of us and not so focused on just what our varna and our ashram is. And in that way, things will naturally fall into places. This movement has a long, long way to go. And it will continue going with us or without us. So we can either join the boat or not. Hare Krishna. So if anyone has a question, please. There's a mic, I believe. So if anyone has any reflection, any question, any thoughts, any realization, please feel free. The last class I was giving was a little kid that was sharing reflection and realization. Do you have anything? Anyone? I could see that you two are really resonating with it. Anything that resonated with you in particular? Feel free, don't be shy. Don't worry, you don't even have to use the mic. Anything that kind of really popped up for you? Mm. 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 Yeah. How do we establish our varnas? Mm. That's a really good question. And I was actually just kind of really reflecting on what Taruna Krishna Prabhu, when he was giving his class, morning class a few days ago. I think one thing that it is that we try and put a lot of emphasis into trying to change things around us. But it really starts with what we are personally doing in our very direct environment, atmosphere, and what is around us. So we can't really establish anything until we're firstly established. We're firstly situated. And then when we are firstly established and when we are firstly situated, then what can we do with our direct contact of people and environment around? But it'll take time. To establish Varnashram, it'll take time. It's not something that's going to happen immediately, even with a successful farm like New Vrajadam, where, it's like, it's going really, really well, but even that comes with its own struggle. But it'll take time, and it'll also, I think the most important emphasis that we also should really put on is that to center Krishna around it. But it's happening, bits and bobs here and there, in different parts of the world, but we just need to be patient with it. And not only do we need to be patient with it, we need to just make sure that we also stay in the boat. Because I personally, myself, and many devotees, like when I see New Vrajadam and I see all these other different farm communities and places where devotees are so comfortably situated in their service, in what they're doing, and they're happy and they've got a happy family going on for them, it's happening. We're just not focused on it, but it is happening. It's slowly happening. And over time, here, even at Bhaktivedanta Manor, different places, it will only get better and better and better and better. But I guess really the focus and the emphasis I was really putting into this is that in that process of Varnashram being established, where the ashram are being established and people are situated in whatever service that we're doing, we shouldn't neglect Krishna. We should always try and center Krishna around our activities, because what will happen in the future if we're not careful and we're not mindful is that actually we may wind up exploiting Varnashram for our own benefit, for our own personal gains. And that's where it can also go. And that's why people feel a bit sensitive when it comes to Varnashram being established. Because, it's easier to be exploited if we don't continue with it with the right consciousness. Yeah. Also, that's not palatable either. Yeah, so we have to go about it in a smart way. But actually, go about it in a smarter way without people feeling like they're being discriminated and being classed into any particular place. And actually, like I said, I'm always, because it's the only farm I've been to, but if you go to New Vrajadam and people go there, like Hungarians or whatever, any type of people from all over the world go there, like they really like it. They get this kind of really positive surprise. Amazing. Like they're so fascinated by it, they're amazed by it. Some of them even they decide to come again to do some service, and this is how people become very attracted and they become attached, and they're like, okay, why don't I give it a go? Why don't I stay here for a bit of time, a few months, And then over time, it's like it becomes like, yeah. So go about it in a very intelligent way, I guess, without really making people feel like they're being discriminated or classified or organized into a particular cult or way of being, way of living. People actually very much appreciate their freedom. People very much value their freedom and their ability to choose. And people don't like being so much labeled. Duties, yes. It'll come with time. Yeah, it'll come with time. So many devotees all over the world, they're doing very sincere and hard work when it comes to Varnashram. It'll come with time, and more attention will kind of go onto it as the economy, and you see with the world changing, people are dissatisfied. People are looking for alternative routes, alternative lifestyle, a more holistic way of living and being. And we need to be ready when that time comes, when more people come into our doors and they're ready to embrace a new lifestyle. We need to be ready. So therefore, the emphasis really is, what are we doing to stabilize ourselves in our own Krishna consciousness? Because when people come, we better have something substantial to show to them. Because if you look around every other religion, they do. If you look at Islam, everything is so organized and so structured, and people are so amazed by it. Because you see, it's like the sincerity, the heart of the practitioners. People don't buy so much into, when they say people don't buy books, they buy into authors. So similarly, people are not going to buy so much into the vision as much as they're going to buy into the person that's presenting the vision. So what are we doing to be authentic? What are we doing to be sincere? What are we doing to be stable? Otherwise, like I think Taruna Krishna Prabhu said, more people will join our movement. They'll be interested by what kind of projects that's going on, but they'll leave because they'll see like, oh, these people are no different from other people that I've seen. They talk the talk, but where's the walk? So we need to be sincere, and we need to be good practitioners, a good example for the rest of society. And where does that come from? That comes from when our entire lifestyle is centered around Krishna and Radha. Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Okay, well, there's nothing else to say then. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Antara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nittai Gaur Pramanande.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Veda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakaacharya Ashtotara Satam Shri Srimad Abhaya Charanara Vinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnu ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakaacharya Ashtotara Satam Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaja Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivedanta Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinatha Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Ganga Mai Ki Yamuna Mai Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Tulasi Devi Maharani Ki Nithai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Shri Shivada Gokulananda Ki Shri Sikaram Lakshman Hanuman Ki Shri Gauratai Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Nithai Gaur Ramanande Haribo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So now you may take your seat, and we'll conclude by singing the Nrsimha prayers, and thus we'll conclude the evening program. Hare Krishna. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Srila Prabhupada ki. Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Thank you everybody for attending this evening program at Bhaktivedanta Manor. The next darshan will be at 9 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. That will be the last darshan of today. And now they'll be serving Mahaprasad, sanctified food, over in reception. Hare Krishna! Hare Krishna!
I am over. I need to Google that and see something.
I enjoyed your live for the Bhagavad Gita.
Sir?
I enjoyed your live for the Bhagavad Gita. It was very inspirational.
Oh, when I get close.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, it was very lovely. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Okay, that's this way. Ja